Persona 5, developed by Atlus, is not only the best JRPG in recent years, but one of the best RPGs I've ever played. While there is a huge demand for JRPGs to be localized and released in the Western market, many times the quality or content matter of the games does not appeal to Western audiences, making them niche titles or cult classics. In this video, I would like to explain why Persona 5 is a modern-day classic by any measure that lives up to games like Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VI. I've spent more than 140 hours on the game, not counting the times I had to restart due to a game over. This is simply the longest single-player game I've ever played, and I absolutely loved it. The Persona series started off as a spin-off of the Shin Megami Tensei franchise. The first game, Revelations Persona, came out for the PlayStation in 1996. There was an 8-year gap between the release of the highly acclaimed Persona 4 and the most recent Persona 5. There was a lot of hype and expectations for Persona 5, which it was able to meet with the reviews on par or even better than Persona 4. If you haven't played a Persona game, or JRPGs in general, Persona 5 is a great place to start, and I'll outline 3 features of the game that set it apart from the crowd. Individually, these may have been done before, but Persona 5 incorporates everything in a polished, deep, and cohesive system. Similar to games like Pokemon, there are many titles now that incorporate capturing, training, or combining monsters or familiars to fight alongside your team. In Persona 5, your party can contain up to 4 party members, one of which has to be the main character, Joker. Each character has a unique persona that gives them access to different spells and attacks. As Joker, you have the special ability to harness and switch between multiple personas. Each persona has its own strength and weaknesses, which you have to consider when in battle. You can level up personas the traditional way by equipping and using that persona in battle, or you can choose to create new personas that begin at higher levels. This mechanic is extremely deep, and when I finished the game, I only completed about 50% of the persona library. When combining personas, the new ones have the ability to inherit skills from the original 2 you sacrifice, so a lot of thought goes into which skills you plan to inherit. At first, I thought the 8 skill slots allowed for each persona were too restricting, as you have to override other skills if you acquire more than 8 that you can hold. However, you do have the option to relearn forgotten skills, train personas to unlock new abilities, and I feel these choices ultimately help cater to your own playstyle. For example, you can plan to utilize a persona mainly for support spells while foregoing attack, or the other way around. With the mature rating, the tone of the game feels more dark, with grotesque monsters representing the twisted, evil, and corrupted minds of the people you are battling. Like these personas, for example. The game may not be as dark as other games of the franchise, and some cliché anime gags and the dialogue tend to keep the tone more lighthearted. The soundtrack is another highlight of the game. The music emphasizes the mysterious or somber segments in the game 1 minute, while the next minute you are getting pumped up for a dynamic boss fight. The soundtrack fits the brightly colored, manga style of game perfectly and is one of the most memorable soundtracks in recent games. The game also excels in creating a large cast of characters who each get their own story arcs and optional story development. As you spend time with characters, or as a result of progressing in the story, your bond with these characters, called confidants, will grow to unlock special abilities that can be used in or out of battle. During the course of the game, you'll get about 2 to 3 weeks of game time to accomplish a mission. Even on the hard difficulty, it would take only a few days to progress to the final boss before completing a mission, with the rest of the time split between activities in the real and alternate world.
Please, no! The elephant! It's coming this way! Ah!
Game over.
I love the period between mission deadlines as you get to know each character, which would often reward you as much as, if not more, than spending the time grinding for experience or money. There are times where you can't progress increasing your bond with a character until you attain a higher level of a certain social stat. The 5 social stats, which can be increased by a variety of different methods, ranging from a part-time job to studying in the library, include knowledge, guts, charm, proficiency, and kindness. Not only does increasing the bonds with confidants give you special abilities in battle, but you will also help them through a personal conflict and get access to an ultimate persona once you reach the max level bond. This gives you the feeling that everything you do in the game contributes to making you stronger in combat. Once you realize that time is a precious commodity in the game, you start looking for ways to be more efficient, growing your bonds with your confidants, and increasing your social stats. For dialogue, the majority of the game will use text boxes with a character's face next to it so you know who is clearly talking. This is similar to many JRPGs that feel like visual novels, with a portrait popping up to show who is talking. The game recycles many of the facial animations, and I can see some scenes dragging on if the story wasn't as engaging as it is. The more important story-focused scenes incorporate full voice acting, and the English voiceovers is one of the game's strongest features. Each character's voice is perfectly cast and keeps the tone of the game serious, unlike other JRPGs, which can sometimes ruin the experience.
Who gives a damn? It doesn't matter if it's true or not. All we've gotta do is super lay the crackdown on everybody! That's it!
During the game's dialogue and exposition, the game gives you choices on how to respond to your teammates, similar to games like Mass Effect. While you only get 2 or 3 choices, and these choices rarely affect the course of the game, just reading the options had me laughing out loud. The characters would respond differently to your choices as well.
You moron, that's a crime! What we're gonna steal in reality are girls' hearts.
I'd be bothered by it.
Some decisions do impact the game, as responding in certain ways will impact the growth of your bond between characters, and a couple choices can lead to alternate endings. Once in a while, you'll be treated to a cutscene that is fully voiced and have extra effects. While these are rare, I would have loved to see more.
You amateur! Stay still! Hey you! You can fight, right? Let's go! Come!
The game also incorporates anime cutscenes that are beautifully drawn and look more like a traditional anime than the manga inspiration of the rest of the game. Persona 5 keeps a traditional turn-based formula while adding many new mechanics that make it feel new. Not only using personas with different strengths and weaknesses, but also incorporating a new hold-up and one more mechanic. Battles are not random, and a preemptive attack can be engaged by sneaking up on an enemy or using cover. When encountering a new persona for the first time, all their affinities are unknown and you have to use each weapon and spell type to figure out their strengths and weaknesses. This is crucial because enemies can absorb, reflect, or reduce damage of elements they are strong against. At the same time, most enemies have at least one element they are weak to, and attacking them with it will cause them more damage and stun them, causing them to be knocked down. Causing critical hits will also put them in this state. And after you knock an enemy down, your character will get one extra turn immediately. You can then learn a skill early on for each character to perform a baton pass, which allows you to transfer this extra turn to another member of your party. This will be utilized often to switch between different magic spells, focus fire on one enemy's weakness, or knock down all other enemies. Enemies who are knocked down will recover and attack immediately when it's their turn. But if you successfully knock down all enemies, you will have the opportunity to perform a hold-up. During this, you have the option of either performing a heavy attack with all your characters, or talk to the persona in an attempt to recruit or gain money or items from them.
You're looking cool! They're done for!
The combat is fun and engaging, and I enjoyed playing the game on the hard difficulty where I had to farm for the best gear and utilize support spells to survive. Enemies can also use your weakness to knock you down and attack again. In hard difficulty, being ambushed by an enemy and not getting the preemptive attack can lead to a quick game over. I played the game on hard difficulty for the entire game except for the last battle. Luckily, the game does not penalize you for changing the difficulty and can be done anytime through the menu. The game still has much more replay value on a second playthrough, maxing out social stats, maxing out the bonds with your confidants, and collecting the personas. Due to the sheer scale of the game, some may find the second act of the game to be a little slow, but with so much to do and always feeling pressured for time, I felt the game was really well paced. While many review sites have already called Persona 5 one of the best JRPGs in recent years, I feel that it deserves even better. In my opinion, Persona 5 is one of the best RPGs ever and one of my favorite of all time. It is a modern day masterpiece. It's a mix of traditional and new gameplay mechanics that are presented in a stylish way that is accessible to old and new players alike. If you would like to read the full unabridged review, check out the link in the description below. Thanks for watching. If you guys enjoyed the video, like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope to see you guys again in the next video.